I never thought I'd be the one to make it in our family. Growing up, money was always tight. Dad worked 2 jobs, mechanic by day, security guard by night, while Mom pulled long shifts as a nurse. They scraped together enough for a modest house in the suburbs, but luxuries were rare. Vacations meant visiting my grandparents' farm, not Disney World like my friends. Despite our financial constraints, they pushed me to excel in school. Education is the one thing nobody can take from you, Mom always said. I took their advice to heart, earned a scholarship to college, and graduated with a computer science degree. After a few years grinding at startups, I landed a job at a major tech company that went public. Suddenly, at 32, I had more money than I ever imagined. My first thought wasn't about buying myself a fancy car or a beach house. It was about helping my parents. They were approaching retirement age with a mountain of debt. A second mortgage they'd taken out to help pay for my college expenses, despite my scholarship, credit card debt from when Dad got laid off, and medical bills from when Mom broke her ankle and insurance didn't cover everything. I surprised them one weekend by showing up with papers showing I'd paid off their mortgage, their credit cards, and all outstanding medical bills. Nearly $267,000 in total. They cried, hugged me, and Dad couldn't stop saying how proud he was. 3 months later, I bought them a new Mercedes SUV after Dad's Toyota finally died after 22 years of loyal service. Mom protested, saying it was too fancy for people like us, but I insisted they deserved comfort in their golden years. For the next 2 years, things were great. I set up a monthly deposit into their account to supplement their retirement savings, ensuring they wouldn't have to worry about money. Dad finally retired from his security job, and Mom reduced her nursing hours to part-time. I felt good knowing they could relax after decades of working themselves to the bone. Then came Mom's retirement party at the hospital where she'd worked for 35 years. I flew in from Seattle for the occasion, excited to celebrate this milestone. The hospital had reserved a conference room, decorated with balloons and a happy retirement, Margaret, banner. Her colleagues gave heartfelt speeches about what an amazing nurse and friend she'd been. When it was Mom's turn to speak, she thanked everyone for their kind words. Then she spotted me in the crowd and motioned for me to stand. "And there's my son," she announced, "who thinks he's so important now because he has money and pays our bills." The room fell silent. I felt my face burning as every eye turned toward me. But Mom wasn't finished. "We raised a fool who believes money makes him special," she continued with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Just because he buys us things, he thinks we owe him something." I stood frozen as laughter rippled through the room. Some people thought Mom was joking, but I could see the contempt in her eyes. This wasn't a joke, it was a public humiliation. Dad looked uncomfortable, but said nothing, staring at his shoes. "Don't get me wrong," Mom continued, addressing her colleagues. "It's nice having a new car, but honestly, that money has made him unbearable. Every time he visits, it's like the second coming. He struts around like he owns us now." By the time she finished her speech, I was numb. I stayed just long enough to appear polite, then made an excuse about a work emergency and left. Back at my hotel, I replayed her words over and over. Was I really unbearable? Had I been flaunting my success? I'd never intended to lord anything over them. I just wanted to make their lives easier. The next morning, Dad called to invite me to breakfast before my flight. When I arrived at the diner, Mom was with him. They acted as if nothing had happened. When I brought up her comments, Mom waved dismissively. "Oh, don't be so sensitive. I was just having a little fun," she said, buttering her toast. "You used to have a sense of humor before you got all important." "It didn't feel like humor, Mom. You humiliated me in front of everyone." Dad interjected. "Your mother's right. You've changed since you got that fancy job. Always checking your phone, talking about your company's stock price." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I check my phone because I'm constantly on call. And I only mention the stock price because it affects my ability to help you both. Mom rolled her eyes. "See? There you go again, thinking we need your help. We survived just fine before you came along with your checkbook. So the mortgage payments, the car, the monthly deposits, those aren't helpful?" I asked incredulously. "Nobody asked you to do all that," she snapped. "You decided on your own. And now you expect us to bow down in gratitude." The conversation deteriorated from there. By the time I left for the airport, it was clear that my financial support had somehow become a source of resentment rather than appreciation. On the flight home, I made a decision. If my money was such a burden to them, I would stop providing it. The next day, I called my financial advisor and canceled the monthly transfers to my parents' account. I also contacted the Mercedes dealership and told them I wouldn't be making any more payments on the car. Finally, I texted my parents a brief message. "Since my financial support is clearly unwanted and has made me unbearable, I'll no longer be providing it. You're right. You survived before my help, and you can do so again." Then I turned off my phone and took a week of personal leave, booking a cabin in the mountains with spotty cell reception. I needed time to think, to process this fundamental shift in my relationship with my parents. What I didn't know was that my decision would trigger a storm I wasn't prepared for. When I returned from my mountain retreat and turned on my phone, it exploded with notifications. 105 missed calls, 67 voicemails, and over 200 text messages. Most were from my parents, but others came from relatives I rarely spoke with, and even some family friends. The first voicemail was from Mom, her voice nonchalant. "Call us back when you're done with your little tantrum." By the 10th voicemail, her tone had shifted dramatically. "This isn't funny anymore. The bank called about the car payment." The 20th was tearful. "Please, we didn't mean it. We need your help." Dad's messages started gruff. "Man up and answer your phone," before deteriorating into desperate pleas. "Son, we're in trouble here. They're threatening to repossess the car. My aunt called to tell me I was breaking my mother's heart. My uncle accused me of financial abuse of the elderly. A family friend I hadn't spoken to in years texted that I was cruel and vindictive." I sat on my couch for hours, listening to every message, reading every text. The final voicemail, left just hours before I turned my phone back on, was from Dad. His voice was broken, humble in a way I'd never heard before. "We were wrong," he said simply. "Your mother was wrong to say those things, and I was wrong to stay silent. The truth is, we're ashamed. Not of you, never of you. We're ashamed that after working our whole lives, we needed our son to rescue us. Your mother lashed out because she's proud, too proud. And I didn't defend you because deep down, I feel the same shame. But son, we are grateful. Every day, we're grateful. Please call us back." I booked a flight home the next morning. When I arrived at their house, both Mom and Dad looked like they hadn't slept in days. The moment I walked in, Mom burst into tears and rushed to hug me. "I'm so sorry," she sobbed against my shoulder. "I was horrible to you. I don't know why I said those things." Dad stood awkwardly until I extended an arm, pulling him into our embrace. "We thought we lost you," he said quietly. Over coffee, we had the most honest conversation of our adult lives. They confessed their complicated feelings about accepting help from their child, the pride mixed with gratitude, the love tangled with resentment. I admitted that perhaps I had been overeager in my assistance, not considering how it might affect their dignity. We established new boundaries. I would resume the financial support, but at a reduced level that preserved their independence. They would acknowledge the help gratefully, but honestly. And most importantly, we would communicate openly about our feelings before they festered into resentment. As I prepared to leave, Mom took my hand. "You know," she said softly, "you really are important. Not because you pay our bills, but because you're our son. I'm sorry I ever made you think otherwise." Sometimes, it takes losing something to recognize its true value. For my parents, it was financial security. For me, it was the genuine appreciation of the two people who matter most. Money can create complex dynamics in families, but honest communication can resolve even the deepest misunderstandings.